Morning everyone, Colonel Creamcake here, and today I'm stood outside Barclays Bank in Garforth near Leeds. I haven't chosen Barclays specifically, it was just first one I came across, so sorry Barclays. But today I want to talk about the Cashless Society. Now, personally, I think that is an absolutely god-awful idea. For a number of reasons, really. I know these days younger people just, use the contactless cards, electronic money, PayPal, that Apple Pay thing. But bloody hell, you need money. You need physical money. I'll tell you why. First of all, physical money, £20 notes, whatever, are durable, reliable, always usable. And what I mean by that is, all the time you hear about IT failures. There were a power outage yesterday, or was it Friday? I can't remember which day, but from London up to Newcastle, it went out because a couple of power stations failed or wind turbines. I can't remember exactly. But I mean, if you think about it, if that were long term, a day, a week, what would you do? How would you spend money if there were no cash? If everything were electronic, you'd be screwed. Now, that money in my pocket never crashes. It's always accepted everywhere. It doesn't need any technology. So that's first thing. Second thing, privacy. Now, if you've got Cashless Society, every transaction is recorded somewhere and there's a paper trail. Now, you get people saying, well, I don't mind. They can record me buying me tins of beans. Who's going to be interested in that? But that's fine, so long as all you ever buy are tins of beans. But what happens if you want to buy something that perhaps you don't want anybody else knowing about? I don't know. Say you want to get something for the wife. Sex toy. You don't want world knowing that, and that's private. But somebody, somewhere, can buy all that transactions and target you with adverts. Do you really want that? I mean, everyone must buy at least one thing in their whole life that they don't want anyone to know about. I certainly have, and I thank goodness for anonymous cash. So that's another factor. Another thing that you possibly might not be aware of is if there is a cashless society, that would enable banks to charge a negative interest rate. Now, what that means is that you have to pay the bank to hold on to your money. They don't pay you. You don't earn the interest, they get the interest off you. And if there's a cashless society, you can't draw it out, can you? It doesn't exist. So you can't escape it. And that's just so bad when you think about it. I mean, if they tried to do it nowadays, today, everybody just draw the money out, wouldn't they? I mean, I do. So, what a nightmare that is. I mean, I know they do it in Japan, but Just imagine long-term negative interest rates. It'd wipe a lot of people out. Well, maybe not wipe out, but it'd certainly have an impact, wouldn't it? And that leads me on to another thing. Control. Now, people these days, don't seem to realise the difference between control and administer. And it's a very, very important difference. Now, them £20 notes in my hand are controlled by me and me alone. Nobody can take them off me. Well, unless they're breaking into my house, of course, but you know what I mean. But that money that you give to the bank is no longer under your control. You simply administer that. And there's a very, very important difference. I mean, the bank, if they're controlled, they can freeze that account, and it happens. You hear of people going into a bank and suddenly their account's frozen, and bank won't tell them anything. And they don't give a damn, do they? If you can't pay your bills, you just have to wait for it to go through. So, how's that going to pan out in a cashless society? They can just turn you off. Then it happens these days. I mean, but what would you do? Who would you complain to? How would you get additional funds? I mean, when you think about that as well, it can be expanded in frightening ways. I mean, just say, for instance, you're 10, 20 years into a cashless society and there's nobody knows any different anymore. And everything's barcoded these days. I mean, it wouldn't be a big leap for the authorities to say, right, you've been found, I don't know, drink driving or something like that. So all alcohol you can't buy. And it'll be dead easy to do because it's all barcoded. And yeah, but you don't. That's not you having any control over your life or your purchases. I mean, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I mean, say you go to doctors. Oh, you're a bit overweight there, sir. So then they start limiting high-fat food, takeaways, things like that. There's no way around it, is there? Because it's all barcoded. All of it. I mean, even these days, you look, when you pay for your shopping at supermarket, buy a card and that little machine, what does it say? You put it in, you key your PIN number, and it says, authorising. Now, do you really want a third party standing between you and the retailer deciding whether you can or cannot conclude that purchase? I mean, I don't. Nothing to do with anyone else. Not only that, that third party will want a cut. They always do, don't they? Same with PayPal. They take about 3% of every transaction. Yeah, 3.4% or so, plus 20 pence. Now, banks aren't going to process all them transactions for free, are they? Oh no. So, that's another thing, isn't it? Somebody else stepping into the middle of your business, taking money out of it for what? Bloody awful, innit? So yeah, I mean, if they could just cut you off, and if you get anybody else to buy stuff for you, they could extend that, couldn't they? They could cut your family off. And I mean, nobody knows in future what kind of government we're going to end up with. I mean, it's happening today in China, isn't it? You know, they monitor every single aspect of your life. So, and that leads me to my final point. If you're not free to conduct transactions, that is one of your last major freedoms that you've got left. the ability to control your own financial transactions. And if you're not free to do that, what does that make you? If you're not free, that makes you a slave. Is that what you really, really want? Because that's exactly what it's going to be. You'd be a slave to the system, and there's no way out of it. Not easy, I can see anyway. So for its sake, I know people cite convenience and stuff like that, but there is absolutely no benefit to you. Save a few seconds, whoopee-doo. But it costs you a hell of a lot more. All the benefits would be for the state and the financial system if we had a cashless society. So what I would say to you, especially younger people, because it could well happen in your lifetime, you're starting out, you're in your early 20s, is it worth it? Is that what you really, really want? But whoopie-doo, you save a few seconds swiping your contactless card instead of handling money. And then that's another thing. If you never see it, how can you value it? It's invisible. If it's all electronic, how can you value money? It just don't work, does it? I mean, you can't budget. You can't do anything. I mean, you go for a mortgage, say, for your 200 grand house. When you borrow that money off the bank, you never see it, do you? But you see it when you pay it back. Crikey. Over 25 years, I mean, if you could see that money on table that you have to pay back, it'd be frightening. Same if you got given it, it'd really make you think, wouldn't it? But because you don't see it, it has no value. It's a step away from you. So what I would say is think very, very carefully before you accept a cashless society, because hell, it will cost you a lot and you will get no benefit out of it whatsoever. You're handing away your last major freedom. So on that note, Colonel will leave you. Bid you good day. Bye bye.